One of the cool things that we get out of these whole proceedings with Microsoft and Activision and all that kind of stuff is the fact that we get some information. We're privy to information that we weren't really in the know about previously, and so we get details of exactly kind of what the future lies. And listen, as a fan, I honestly like the fact that we're getting information and we're getting news ahead of time. I like being in the know. Some people go, oh, well, don't you feel maybe ripped off or whatever? I actually thought one of the smartest things that Phil Spencer did back in the day was, if you guys remember this far back, or maybe you followed or maybe you didn't follow me then, but they announced an Xbox Series S, or excuse me, an Xbox One S and the Xbox One X at the same time. And they were very clear about it. Hey, this year we're getting the new slimmed down version of the launch Xbox One, and next year is going to be like the super uber powerful one, mid-gen refresh. So people could plan accordingly, and you know what? I appreciated that. I am someone who, listen, I love getting the latest and greatest stuff. I was very excited by the prospect of the Xbox One X. Interesting thing is, so when generations come about, usually, I'm not like some super rich person or anything like that by any means, but when I had heard about the Xbox One X, and it's going to be 4K and stuff like that, I bought a 4K TV. So I had that, and so I had that about a year before the Xbox One X even came out, and realistically also was helped by the Xbox One S, because that was 4K Blu-rays, and it was upscaling and stuff like that. So I was still getting some of the early adoptingness of 4K and things like that with that platform. And right before this generation started, I also got a new TV. So it's not like I buy new TVs very often, but I definitely wanted to get one that fully supported, HDMI 2.1, and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, that's exactly what I did, and now I'm able to fully support the Xbox Series X, the PS5, and things like that. So yeah, that's pretty much where I'm at. But we actually got an idea about when Microsoft would be launching their next platform, and their next console. So we also heard that Phil Spencer likely isn't going to be doing a mid-gen upgrade. And to me, that makes a lot of sense, because if you look at things, we never learned how those upgrades actually did for Microsoft. To be quite honest with you, the Xbox One X, did it sell great? I think that was more needed that generation, because Microsoft honestly wasn't, they were getting stomped due to the fact that quite honestly, they had a console that was more expensive at the launch than Sony did, and yet Sony actually had a much powerful console, but despite it being cheaper. So yeah, people kind of abandoned Xbox a little bit, and that was one of the reasons behind it. But when you look at this and you go, okay, well, when would they come out with a new console? These consoles came out in 2020. And so they do actually look like they're going to keep these consoles around for some time. It would be hard to imagine that they don't actually come out with a console before this point. At least I find it to be a little bit that way. I don't know if they would come. I think Sony for sure is coming out with a mid-gen. Microsoft might come out with a Slim or something. But when you look at this, Xbox is actually expecting their next generation console and the next generation to begin in 2028. So that is something. If you're wondering when a brand new generation of Xbox consoles will come along, we have a pretty good answer. According to Microsoft, the current expectation is that the next generation will arrive around the year 2028. According to the court documents that Microsoft filed as part of the FTC hearing, the date was mentioned while the company discussed the potential 10-year deal for Call of Duty on PlayStation, and this is a quote. The term would, in any case, go beyond the expected starting period of next generation of consoles in 2028. Thus, Call of Duty will be published on successor of PlayStation consoles should one be released during the term of the agreement. The agreement would also ensure that Call of Duty console games are offered on PlayStation at parity with Xbox. So there's a lot that could change over the course of 5 years, but when you consider the Xbox One generation lasted 7 years, it seems a pretty safe bet to say we'll be opening up brand new Xboxes around 2028. And gosh, I feel extremely old To be quite honest with you, I'll be in my mid 40s, so hooray. That doesn't take Nintendo console into account, of course, which is anticipated to arrive much sooner. It's also not talking about any kind of mid-gen refreshes, as Xbox doesn't seem to be getting one of these generations, while Sony is. Maybe it just doesn't make sense financially for Microsoft to do it. We did learn during their briefing or whatever that Microsoft is kind of its own thing, and they have a budget, and they have, all these different types of things that they're having to deal with as well. And, again, this is something that honestly a lot of people just go, oh, well, they have unlimited budget and things like that. And to be quite honest with you, that we found out that they don't. There is no unlimited budget for Microsoft or for Xbox. They aren't paying for everything super upfront the way that people thought they were, like Activision or whatever. Phil Spencer kind of explained that. It's just the realism that Microsoft has these budget constraints. They have to do things that are cost effective. Sometimes putting having games on your own platform, especially if it's not a huge game, is the most cost-effective thing to do. And, again, if you're talking about 2028 being the time when, they're able to put these games out, I think that's a smart thing to do. Put out a new platform in that particular instance. Just makes a ton of sense. And, I honestly hope that, I would be cool with that. I don't care. Like 2028 sounds good to me. Let's get the most out of these consoles that we can. We'll see. If people want something uber better, then let them put together a PC or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like, honestly, the first 3 years of this generation to begin with didn't feel like we tapped into any potential for the platform anyway. So, to me, it always just kind of seems like one of those things where we never got what we were expecting yet anyway. Everything had been, cross-gen, or we didn't even really have anything that showcased what it could do. So, yeah, let's wait a little bit. I mean, there are some stuff that looks nice on PlayStation, but are they really utilizing any next-gen features and things like that? I don't know. I mean, pretty graphics are nice, but I think that, we definitely weren't getting some of the things that I think some of us were expecting. And listen, I go into new generations. I wasn't expecting, certain things. So yeah, it's interesting to see how this kind of goes, and I'm super fascinated by the fact that Microsoft has taken a completely different tactic in terms of, it seems like they released the Xbox and the mid-gen refresh at the same time with the Series S and the Xbox Series X. So listen, we'll see what happens. Anything can happen at any point in time. But I'll link this. You guys can check it out. Is 2028 good for you, or would you hope for a refresh before that time? I'm very curious. Let me know. Rack 'em up. This is Crap Gamer, and this has been Crap Gamer Reviews. Crap Gamer out.